Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. Good afternoon, teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Soar to Score program. All right, today we're gonna have a look at speaking component. So let's not waste time. Before that, may I just remind soft reminder to those teachers who actually have obtain a new link for today, right? They are in our Restream studio. Can you please leave the studio link and go to our YouTube channel under Digital Mover, right? We are streaming live there. So those who are in our studio, Restream studio, can you please channel and go to our YouTube channel, Penang Digital Movers. Okay, all right. So for today is Puan Shazlin from SMK Datuk Haji. All right, to you, Shazlin.
Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone. A very good day. Welcome back to Soar to Score, Day 2. I am Puan Shazlin Muhammad Saad from SMK Datuk Haji Abdul Kadir. We'll walk you through the procedure and assessment for speaking in the first half. You will later be handed over to my colleague Puan Zarina Hashim from SMK Mak Mandin on best practices for teaching speaking skills. Without further ado, let's talk procedure. There are a few things that you need to prepare for the speaking test. Okay, so let's take a look what they are. Now, in the exam room, you will need these items, okay? You will need tables and chairs for the candidates, interlocutor, the assessor, okay? And then need to hold a stopwatch. The interlocutor has to hold a stopwatch throughout the session. There will be some people who will be asking, can we put the stopwatch on the table? Yes, you may. Okay, it is not. It is okay. It's not that you have to cover the stopwatch all the time. It's all right. Okay, then you need a whiteboard and a wall clock in the exam room to show the exam date, time, and sessions. As you can see here, there is a sample of what you can write on the whiteboard. Okay, this is just a suggestion. Okay, now let's take a look at what are the items needed for the interlocutor and the assessor. First, before you begin a speaking test, make sure you are equipped with these items: pencils, a pencil sharpener, eraser, pens, and then of course you need a clock or watch which shows seconds and which doesn't have a loud tick. You don't want to clock that. Sometimes there is a stopwatch that emits sound like tick, tick, tick. Okay, you don't want that kind of watch, yeah? Okay, but of course a stopwatch always have that tick sound whenever you press it. That's fine. Try to clock or watch so that it does not emit noises. Apart from that, you need post-it notes. Why do you need it? Because you need to mark the relevant pages, okay, in the examiner booklet. Use the ruler. Okay, you need a ruler. Why? Because when you are writing the marks, okay, you want to circle the marks for candidate, you use a ruler so that you can see that you are actually awarding marks for the correct candidate. Okay, all right. Now, the plain papers and notepad. Okay, what do you need that Therefore, it's for you to write down the candidate names. Remember when you ask, what's your name? And then they keep, and then they will say, my name is Janice and you can call me Jane. Okay, so you want to write down that name, yeah? Okay, because you will be calling her by that name later on. And of course, the timing of tests. Pre-filled mark sheets. Okay, mark sheets can be downloaded from the ES registration application, or we already have it in our ISE booklet. Yes, okay, so you can have it from there. And the teacher, the guru bertugas on that day will have to make sure that the mark sheet is completed before the session start. Okay, the guru bertugas must make sure. So who is supposed to fill in? Okay, it's up to the guru bertugas. Okay, if she is daring enough to let the students write, then she must make sure that the name and the index number is correctly spelled or written, because you know students don't even know how to spell their names. All right, and of course, you will be receiving test materials and the ISE booklets, okay, on the day of the speaking test. Talking about how to handle the materials, that one will be briefed by your SU peperiksaan. Whether to keep it in the bilik kebal or wherever, so we still have to wait for the SU peperiksaan to tell us what to do next. Okay, so don't worry so much about that. Let's take a look at the plan. Okay, the plan or the floor plan of our examination room. The famous plan. Let's see. Okay, so we already know. So this is just a refresher where it's supposed to be placed. Okay, so we have calon A and calon B. Okay, so that's the two tables, and then you have this table for the interlocutor. As you can see, there is a Randik digital. That's the stopwatch, digital stopwatch. Okay, preferably to put over that side, but then it depends on which hand you hold it. Okay, some of you might be holding on your right hand, some of you might want to hold it on the left hand. It's up to the interlocutor's preference. Okay, as long as it doesn't interfere with how you want to look at the booklet later. Okay, and because you are going to do two things at the same time, interlocutors. First, you have to look at the watch, you have to keep time, and then you have to read the interlocutor's frame. That's a lot of work to do. So please make sure you are comfortable. Okay, and then you have the assessor's table slightly a little bit to the back, and the clock must be behind you. Okay, it doesn't matter if it has to be behind or at the side, as long as it is in the room. Okay, so whatever it is, you have to go back to our SU peperiksaan to tell us where to put it. Yeah, okay. All right. So I would like to show you a simulation of how the seating arrangement of the speaking test. Let's take a look at this.
Good morning. I'm Puan Farhana, and it's my colleague Puan Shazwani. She'll just listen to us.
Okay, as you can see, all right, the Puan Farhana placed her stopwatch on the table on the right-hand side. Okay, some interlocutors, you might see them holding the stopwatch. So it is okay as long as you have the stopwatch with you. Okay, teachers? Yes? All right, okay, let's move on to how to go about it. Oh, so exciting now how to go about this. All right. Teachers, please always refer to the manual pentaksiran shared by SU peperiksaan. Many of you have already received the slides, okay? So please read through, okay? And then you can discuss this with your panel members, all right? So that you can have the same understanding. You must have, for each station, you must have bilik menunggu, bilik ujian, and also bilik quarantine. Okay, now the question is, even though we say that there are 3 rooms for each station, however, if you do not have enough rooms for schools with more than 1 station, okay, some schools might have 2 stations, 3 stations due to the number of students, right? Okay, so if you do not have enough rooms, you may combine the groups for the bilik menunggu and also bilik quarantine. But whatever it is, bear in mind, the decision should consider all possibilities to avoid problems during the speaking test. Remember, in bilik menunggu, there should be 2 guru bertugas. 2 guru bertugas to handle actually for one session is 16 students, right? 8 pairs. If there are 2 groups, there will be 32 students and 2 mark sheets. Okay, 2 mark sheets will have to be filled in correctly. All right, so these are the things that you have to consider. Is 2 guru bertugas enough to handle 2 groups at the same time? Okay, so if it is a little troublesome, then you need to find at least 2 guru bertugas for each group. Okay, for each group, for per session, for per station. Okay, yeah. All right. Now, there are a few queries coming from you about this. Okay, first of all, candidates name list. Candidate name list. Now, we all know that they choose their own partner. Okay, and they don't have to follow the sequence of index number, right? Okay, so what about the mark sheet? Okay, now it is best if the guru bertugas has to make sure that when they call up the students to sit, okay, let's say this is session 1. Session 1, there should be 16 students and they have to sit with their pair, okay? Then, okay, you decide who will go first. Okay, which pair will go first. It doesn't have to be in a sequence, okay? Or A has to go first, it doesn't matter because at that time, they are already jumbled up. Okay, as long as you can choose who's to go first, second, third, fourth, okay? Write their names together, okay? Pair in the mark sheet. In the mark sheet, okay? Let's say Ahmad will go with Chong, okay? Badrul will go with Dominic, okay? So make sure Ahmad, the name after Ahmad is Chong, the name after Chong is Badrul, and after that is Dominic. Okay, all right. So write according to the pair. Make sure it's all correct. Okay, try to avoid using. Okay, not try to avoid. You cannot use. Okay, if there is any mistake, you cannot use a liquid paper or the correction tape. Okay, so if you want to cut out the mistakes, okay, you have to ask the IC peperiksaan how to go about it because if the spacing is too small, then it will be difficult, right? Okay, so there's other things that you have to bear in mind. Whatever decision you make, it is for the best outcome. All right, guru bertugas. Can we alternate? About the guru bertugas. Okay, 2 guru bertugas per day. Can we alternate them? Can they just be on duty for one sidang and then the next sidang someone else? Okay. Instructions given if they can alternate. But, okay, I think KP should discuss this with admin, okay, and then make the best decision. Because when you are having too many guru bertugas, bear in mind, this guru bertugas has things to be done. Right, they have to make sure that the forms is correctly filled in. Some of you might want to print out. We don't know what's going to happen in your school. I don't know what's going to happen in your school. So if you want to have more people, then all these people must be well versed with what they are supposed to do. If they all can do it, it's okay. All right, just as long as the session is smooth. That's what we want. What happens if we have too many guru bertugas? Okay, sometimes, it's the first time, there will be mistake, right? And then the second slot, different teacher. Then another mistake. The third slot, another teacher. It will be troublesome. Remember the interlocutors and also the assessor? They have to sit through the 3 days, right? So why can't the guru bertugas, right? That's my 2 cents. Okay, whatever it is, best decision should be made by the school. Okay, best decision must be made by the school. Operational. Movement. Okay, some of you are asking about how the students should move from bilik menunggu to bilik exam and to bilik quarantine. Okay, you should be following the class SOP. That means one-way direction. Okay, please refer to the manual pentafsiran, okay, because it was mentioned inside the slide that bilik kuarantin is a bilik larangan, is a kawasan larangan. That means the students who have completed should not meet the candidate who has not done it yet. Okay, that's why it is better if you do it in one way direction. Let's say some of you say, the exam room, there's only one door. Okay, fine. You can ask them to go out the same door, but make sure that the candidate who has completed it did not bump into the candidate who has not done it yet. Okay, once they are in the bilik quarantine, then the next student can come in. When, okay, if you have done PT3, I'm sure you already know, okay, if you have done oral also, you will know that, okay, normally after giving marks and all that, you will need time before you call the next candidate. So you have to think of how to call the next candidate. Okay, think about how are you going to call the next candidate, because you don't want to be getting up, all the time, calling next, right? Okay, so try to find a way. But remember, you cannot use handphones. All electronic devices must be shut down. Okay, so you cannot use your handphone to call next person. Cannot. Okay, now what about the candidate, single candidate? Okay, single candidate, that means without a partner. There are classes with, let's say, class A. Okay, we have class A, we have 27 students. Class B, we have 18 students. Class C, we have 17 students. How should we go about it? Okay. Class A, of course, I think it will be uncomfortable for the students to be paired with a student from another class. So what is best is, please make sure that there are spare candidates. That means the candidate, you tell them first that, can you help out with your friend, she or he does not have a sparring partner. Okay, so that means you don't have to interrupt with other class lah. Okay, what will happen is after the first partner has completed, they will go into the quarantine room. Okay, after they have done that, the single candidate will have to go in. So that means how? Guru bertugas will have to go and call one candidate that has completed, okay, the one that you have already discussed earlier, to come out from bilik quarantine and go into the examination room to help the single candidate. Okay? Okay. This is just a suggestion. Okay, whatever it is, you have to ask your SU Peperiksaan about how to go about it. Whatever the decision is, okay, it must comply to the rules and the regulation of our SPM rules. Okay. All right. Now, let's take a look at the interlocutor. Okay, let's take a look at the role of the interlocutor. The role of the interlocutor, what are you supposed to do? Okay. All right. Now, we know that the interlocutor will be the teacher from the same school. Yes, okay. There is a high possibility school will submit names to the SPP and the SPP will produce the surat lantikan. Okay, alright. So, because the interlocutor is the teacher from the same, alright, there might be a possibility that the students, they are used to the teachers, so they are not too formal. Like for example, they come in and then they chit chat with their partner, because they are too nervous, they chit chat with their partner. So by right, they shouldn't do that. Okay, so you must maintain formality. But as an interlocutor, don't be too serious. Smile, okay, make the students comfortable, okay, make them feel unthreatened, okay. And then when they are doing, especially in the interview, now remember, interview is the part where they will speak about themselves, something familiar to them. Some of them might be a little bit too rehearsed. Okay, they might already prepare that, so they have a few things to say, so they speak too long. So what should you do? You should intercept by saying thank you. Okay, and then move on. Move on to the next partner. Ask another question. All right. Okay. Now what about part 2? Part 2 is the individual long turn, which takes about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, so please bear in mind the interlocutor must allow them to prepare for 20 seconds, okay, before talking for 1 minute, all right? And after that, you will ask the partner to ask a question. The response will need about 20 seconds, so it's quite short, huh? Okay. Reticent candidate, okay. Students, okay, candidate who are reluctant to speak, when you ask them question like, for example, okay, take a look at this, okay, can you talk about a person you admire, and then they just kept quiet, they just keep on thinking and looking at you, and then they do like that. Okay, they will, or they just say, I admire my mother, and then they don't know what to say. Okay, so try to prompt with backup prompts. You may not rephrase it or try to explain, the person at home, you cannot do that. Okay, all right, so you have to prompt with a backup prompt, and if they still do not want to speak, you have to wait for at least 40 seconds before closing. Okay, closing means you say thank you and then you move on to the next question. Unless the student say, teacher, I don't know, I want to stop, then only you can stop earlier than 40 seconds. If not, try to wait for 40 seconds before you close and move to the next question. Okay, now let's take a look at part 3. Part 3 is the collaborative task and further discussion task. Okay, it takes about 4 to 5 minutes. The preparation is 90 seconds. Same with the part 2. They will speak together for 2 minutes, decide together 1 minute, further discussion 2 minutes. Okay, and then what are the things that you have to bear in mind? Focus on the quality of language, not whether they can complete the task. For example, they must come to an agreement, or they must discuss. No, that's not the benchmark. Okay, that's not what they're supposed to do. The question is for them to produce language. You, as the interlocutor or assessor, your task is to award marks accordingly to the quality of language produced by the candidate. Okay, and candidates need not agree with one another. It doesn't have to be that, you must agree with your friend. Not necessarily. Okay, they can take their own stand. It's okay. All right. Now, in case of dominant partner, okay, if for example one student is speaking more than the other, or not allowing the partner to talk, or even the candidate was not, what do you think? Did not do that? Okay, what you should do as the interlocutor, try to prompt the other candidate. What do you think, Budi? Something like that. Okay. What about in case of breakdown of interaction? Oh man, both of them cannot speak. Okay, what you should do is repeat all part of rubric. That's the first one. Repeat all part of rubric. Still cannot talk? Use the backup prompt. Okay, try to use the backup. Remember, you cannot rephrase, so you must use the one given in the frame. Still can you point? Use your gestures to point to the central question or the written prompt. Okay, yeah? Now, let's look at the interlocutor's mannerism. Okay, how should you sit in front of the student? Okay, how should you talk to the student? To make this clearer, let's take a look at this video.
In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it on your own for about a minute. You also need to answer a question briefly about your partner's topic. Dinesh, it's your turn. Here's your task. I'd like you to talk about a family celebration. First, you have some time to think about what you. All right, you may start now.
A recent family celebration I had was when we all gathered together and celebrated my mother. This was held at my grandmother's place, and what we did there was we surprised her with we spent the day playing party games. Personally, I did enjoy myself because it was the first time in a while that my whole family had gathered together. Why family celebrations are important in Malaysia is because it strengthens the bond between family members.
Thank you. Sasha, what was the last celebration you had?
The last family celebration that I had was my parents' wedding anniversary. I personally enjoyed the celebration because I get to witness had for each other.
Thank you. Dinesh, can I have the booklet, please?
Okay, all right, teacher. As you can see, okay, how the interlocutor give the booklet to the students to read, okay, and then right after that, quickly take the booklet, and then she will be giving the second booklet, okay, to the second candidate. Okay, so I think it is fairly clear on what you are supposed to do as the interlocutor. Okay, the good part is that the frame for the interlocutor frame is provided, so it is not too difficult because you have to only read. The difficult part might be the time when you have to watch the time, when you have to click at the stopwatch, when you have to stop the clock watch, the stopwatch, yeah, okay. How to go about that? Yeah, I think you need to do some exercises, practice. Try to practice in the class. Okay. Now we have come to the mark awarding. Mark awarding. Okay, this is the part where a lot of you are still not sure of what to do. Okay, still not sure of what to do. All right. When to awards? All right, teachers, after the candidates have left, okay, both of them have left. When they have stand up, okay, then you will award marks because you don't want to let the students see the marks you have given them. Okay, so try to be a bit discreet. Don't show off the mark sheet in front of them. Cover it with your booklet, yeah? Always refer to the ISE. What is ISE? Not ISA. I thought you have been listening to ISA, but this is ISE, dear. Instruction for speaking examiner. Okay, so refer to it. Let's try to assess Dinesh after looking at his performance. Now I have already made this video, okay, so that you will only look at Dinesh performance. I want you to listen to Dinesh carefully. Your best to jot down in a piece of paper or something what you think of the marks should be given for all the 4 components. What are they? If you have the ISE booklet, you can take a look at it because I show it to you. Okay, so it is in the ISE booklet, page 20, 26, 27, and 28. Okay, yeah? So please try to think. As you are listening, try to think of where would you put his grammar, his vocabulary, his communicative competence, and also his overall spoken performance. Okay, all right. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's take a look at this.
What's your name?
My name is Dinesh Kumar.
Dinesh, where do you live?
I live in Taman Melati, Selangor.
What do you normally do after you wake up?
Usually, I wake up, I would grab myself a cup of coffee, and then take a hot shower.
Dinesh, how do you spend your leisure time?
Usually, I spend my leisure time by playing video games with friends. A recent family celebration I had was when we all gathered together and celebrated my mother's birthday. This was held at grandmother's place, and what we did there was we surprised her with a birthday cake and we spent the day playing party games. Personally, I did enjoy myself because it was the first time in a while that my whole family had gathered together. Why I think family celebrations are important in Malaysia is because it strengthens the bond between family members. Why I think people shop online is because it's more convenient. Because when you shop online, you can access it through your phone, and everyone has their phones around them. Another reason is because it has a wide variety in choices. When you shop online, you can easily look up on what you want. The last point is follow the trend. Nowadays, online shopping has gained much more popularity since before. I agree with her because personally, when I go for shopping, I look for the cheapest items. I think big companies take this opportunity to advertise more and more, so people scroll through social media can learn what they sell.
Okay. All right, teacher. Okay, now is the time for you to put down the marks. What you think Dinesh should get. Okay, can you please take a look at the assessment scales, analytical scales? All right, think of the grammar. Is he able to communicate? How well is he? Is it a high degree of grammatical accuracy? Errors are free? Does he have a wide range of grammatical structures? Any complex sentences? Or can he communicate with good degree and accuracy but only show a good degree of control? Range of simple and some complex grammatical structures. Or is he lower than that? Can he communicate with reasonable accuracy, good degree, and simple grammatical structures? Did he attempt any complex grammatical structures? What about his cohesive devices? Does he use a range of cohesive devices, or is he just using basic cohesive devices? Okay. All right, think about that. All right. I know some of you will be saying that, oh, this should be my best student in school. Right? Okay. What about his vocabulary? Did you manage to hear? What did you hear just now? Was it good? Was it really, really good? Does it have a wide range of vocabulary range? What about was he able to speak spontaneously, or was he hesitant? Was he hesitant? Did he repeat himself? Was he repetitive? That one is under communicative competence. Okay. What about his overall spoken performance? Does it need prompting? Does it need support? What about his interaction? Did he manage to develop really, really well? Okay. Yes, teachers? Are you able to have in mind what he should get? I know some of you already know his band, okay? But the problem is, what do we write in the mark scheme? So let's take a look at this. Okay, teachers. For his overall spoken performance, okay, Dinesh is able to understand questions and instructions directed at him with, right? He maintains and develops the interactions with some hesitation. right? Some hesitation, not little, okay, not little. Some hesitation, because that means we notice that, oh yeah, he did hesitate a few times. He does not need any prompting or support. Yes, he did not need any prompting, but he has some hesitation. So even though at first we thought that, oh, he is a 5, but because he has this hesitation, yep, okay, and then repetitions, he does that a lot really, okay, yeah, hesitation, he repeat the questions, he repeat the rubric, yeah, so his mark is a 4 for overall spoken performance. Take a look at his grammar. He shows a good degree of control of simple grammatical structures. He uses mostly basic cohesive devices to link longer sentences. Now, I know a lot of you, even I, okay, felt that, oh, at first, when I heard it for the first time, it was, oh, his English is okay. Okay, that's the thing that normally will actually blind us from actually looking into his actual what do you call this, ability. He managed to speak use long sentences, yes, but he used basic cohesive devices. If you notice, yeah, he used lots of and, because, but, yeah, okay, all right, it's not enough, not wide enough. And then he repeat sentence structures also. Okay, there are a few sentence structures that he repeated. Okay, it is actually quite audible. Yeah. Vocabulary. He uses appropriate vocabulary to carry out the task. Okay, though he occasionally struggles to find a word. That's why he hesitated. Okay, he was looking for words. So that's the reason why he hesitated. Okay, all right. And what about the communicative competence? He is able to express himself clearly, though with some hesitation. So as you can see here, he was given a 3 for all these 3 parts of the analytical skills. All right. The things that actually affect his mark is the hesitation. Hesitation and also the basic cohesive devices. Yep. Okay. And of course, repetition of structure. Yeah, because it shows that he has this limited structures in him. Okay, he was not able to be spontaneous enough. He is good, but not that up to big yet, not yet. Okay, he needs a little bit brushing up. Okay. Okay, teachers? All right. So let's go to the preparation. Okay, teachers. Okay, some of you are worried about being the interlocutor. Yeah, what am I going to do? Okay, is there any more trainings to be done? Okay, unfortunately, I read in the manuals, in the slides given by the SU Peperiksaan. Okay, one of the things mentioned inside there was that the teacher, assessor, interlocutor appointed must have attended a course given by lembaga peperiksaan, the penjajaran, penskoran. Okay, that means have attended the kursus penskoran yang dijajarkan kepada CEFR, which we have done last year. Remember? 30th and also 1st of November. 30th of October, 1st of November. Because we have already sit for that kursus, which was way before our BM and our bahasa friends. Okay. Actually, we are in the lead. Okay, we are leading them. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm looking at that. Might not be any more trainings. So yes, I share your feeling. I know. Okay, all right, teachers. So what can we do? All right. First, okay, teachers, you have to sit with your panel members. Okay, remember, teachers, friends. We need our friends. There's no way about it. You need them. Sit with your panel members and read the procedure in our ISE. Okay, please jot down these pages. You must make sure you have gone through from page 6 to page 10. Okay, that is talking about the roles and the responsibilities of the assessors and also the interlocutor. Okay, so you make sure you read it through. Make sure you know what to do. You make sure you know how to act in front of the student. That one you need to read again. Okay, I know we know, but just read again. Read again. It will give a different feelings. Okay. And then try out in class. Some of us already tried out in class, and they were saying, "Hey, the students are 20 seconds. They tak sempat baca the question also, Yes, I know. Okay. But that's the time given to us. So please, okay, you really have to do it. Okay, and then practice with panel members about how to take. It is actually very difficult to read. You have 20 seconds to read, and then you have to wait. And then when they start speaking, take. This one you need to practice. If not, on that day, you will have a few, problems lah. There will be false starts. Okay, yeah. Now, watch the videos. Teachers, we have videos given to us for the cascading, for the latihan penskoran last time. Okay, we have the videos. It was already uploaded to you, given to you in the Google form. Okay, if you don't have it, you can ask from the teachers in the neighboring schools, or your friend. If you are not in the district group yet, please join. Okay, it's there in the Telegram, so it's easier to find. Okay, watch the videos. And the latest one that SU Peperiksaan has given, the one that you saw just now, that one is the latest video. Unfortunately, it is without the breaking marks. Okay, without the breakup marks. That's it's a bit difficult, but then at least it will give you an idea. Okay, what should you do? Watch the video, and then you read page 12 to page 17 for the procedure. For the interlocutor, you need to read. Okay, interlocutors, tell your interlocutor friends to read page 12 to page 17, and then watch the video. See how the teacher sit, how the teacher smile, how the teacher respond to the student. Okay, after that, you have to read page 19 to 21 for the assessment. Okay, what is the problem? If you look into page 19 to page 21, okay, I do not advise you to just solely hold on to the analytical skills. Okay, the assessment skills. For me, it is not very, very detailed. So there is like, if you look at the assessment scale and then you listen to Dinesh, you might have a tendency of giving him a higher band. Yes, okay, all right. You might have a tendency of giving him a higher band. I'm sure you are surprised. Some of you might be surprised when I showed you the marks. That if that was my marks, okay. If I were to give mark, that would be the marks given. Okay, you'll be surprised. Because he sound like not too hesitant. He did not need prompting, okay? But, okay, if you look at page 19 to page 21, there is a detailed explanation on how to put them in the band. Okay? This one you need to read. It's not enough for your friend to tell you, this one should be in band 1, you know why? Because blah, blah, blah. It's not enough. You need to read and then you discuss with your friend. You need to. If you don't do that, it is very difficult to grasp because we are shifting from the OULBS to this new oral speaking test. The marking is slightly different and the band is also placed differently. Don't be too quick to give the boy or the girl 1 or 2 marks. Okay. Remember everyone. 0 is level A1. 0 mark is level A1. Okay, 1 mark is A2, So don't compare it to our LBS. US 1 is like, my name is J. You can get 1 mark, 2 marks. This one, no. Remember, okay? Read closely. It's there. You just have to read. You have to read. It's not enough for your friends to explain. Read and then you discuss. Okay? All right. Okay, remember everyone, 0 is 1 is actually then A2. A2. If you want to give a boy, okay, what's your name? My name is Ali. Where do you live? I live in Kepala Batas. How do you come to school? And then he start like, wrinkles all over his head. And then you feel like, oh, you want to help this boy. You cannot do that, remember? Okay. Is he like, can he get a 2 1 mark for that? A2? Is he in A2? Definitely not, right? Okay, is he A2 if he only answer that simple questions? Not enough. That's why you need to keep on prompting. Try to gain as much language production by the students so that you could try to push him to get at least 1 mark. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, all right. Okay. So basically, these are the things that I want you to think of. Yep, teachers. All right. These are the things that I want you to think of. I know it's hard. Teachers, sometimes when a teacher says, I give up, I give up, be known that it's a paradox. You believe that? I don't believe. If a teacher says, I give up, yeah. They always say that, but they never meant it. Okay? All right? So, everyone, on that note, I call for a coffee break. 5 minutes break, everyone. Bye.
Hi, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our second slot, Soar to Score program. Okay, so with the second slot, I've got another new speaker for you. All right, I think everybody knows her. All right, so I welcome Puan Zarina from SMK Mak Mandin. To you, Puan Zarina.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. Thank you Puan Molisa for the brief introduction and also Puan Shazlin for enlightening us on the speaking procedures and operations. Now that you have known about the procedures, let us prepare our students with some inputs that can help them to perform well in their speaking test which is around the corner. Okay, I'm Puan Zarina binti Hashim from SMK Mak Mandin Penang. Today, I'm going to share some useful tips to be shared with your students for speaking. Please bear in mind that these are all suggested activities and you may adapt and adopt to suit your learners' proficiency levels. I will be doing on speaking for part 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Please feel free to leave any questions or feedback in the chat. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. This year, the focus is on the level of the speaking test with reference to the Council of Europe Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR. The standard pair test takes 13 minutes and consists of 3 parts, like I mentioned earlier, which are designed to elicit a range of speaking skills from the candidates. Now, let's look at what are the speaking parts. Okay, so overall, in part 1, there are 4 questions that will be asked for each candidate. And in part 2, there is 1 question each. Okay, and for part 3, there are 3 questions that will be asked for both candidates. So these are the parts in the speaking test. Okay, now. In part 1, students are given a chance to give their personal information and to respond appropriately. As you can see, there are 2 phases in part 1. Okay, part 1, okay, for example, in phase 1, okay, the first phase is in general introduction, okay, and we will ask the candidates, okay, like for example, for their names or their living place, okay, and the second phase is focused on a specific theme, okay, for example, on daily routines, okay. So in this phase, candidates are not allowed to interact with each other unless it is naturally responded to. Okay, so we know that in part 1, there are 2 phases. One is on general introductions and the other phase is on specific theme. Okay, now. Okay, so the interaction between a teacher and students is the focus of this section or for this part. So the emphasis is on verbal communication. So we want the students, the candidates to communicate, okay, or to respond to the question posed by the teacher or by the interlocutor. Okay, now, in order to score good marks in this part, we can employ this activity with our students. So the name of the activity that I give here is You and I. Okay, so here students will be presenting information about themselves, okay, because they have to talk about themselves. They have to talk about their daily routine. So they have to present the information about themselves or their daily routine in part 1. So each student may be asked the same questions, or there may be numerous sets of questions such as inquiries about where they live, where they grew up, and so on. Okay, so how are we going to prepare our student to do well or to perform well in this part? So this is what I have done with my students. Okay, so if you can see in the slides, because these are the materials needed, okay, for you to carry out this activity. So these are some of the materials that can be prepared for this activity. For example, 3 sets of questions and also answers. Okay, so you can actually carry out this activity with your below average learners or even average learners, okay, because they need to have the inputs, okay, they need to know what will be asked in part 1. Then make sure the topics that you are going to do with them should be covered from the Form 4 and Form 5 textbook. And if you want, you can even ask your student to either write those sets of questions and answers in their notebooks for them to refer to during the class practices or to prepare them for the speaking test. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, now, teachers, these are some, I believe, beneficial expressions or useful expression or words that related to the topic for below average learners. Okay, why do I do this? Because it is advisable for us to prepare our students to be able to construct good sentences, because they will be evaluated, they will be assessed according to the language and how they communicate their ideas. So teachers, you can provide some guidance to your average students, or if you have very good students, you can even give them very little guidance to your good students. So for below average learners, you can prepare them with a sample set of questions and answers, just like I mentioned earlier. Okay, now I think we have known a little bit about what you can do for your students in part 1 with 2 phases. Okay, okay, now let's move on to part 2. Okay, so part 2 is actually an individual long-term task. Okay, so this is the task in speaking that will take approximately 3 to 4 minutes with a listening candidate response question of 20 seconds. Okay, so let's take a look at the details for this part. Okay, in this part, you will be asked, or the candidates will be asked to speak for about 1 minute each based on the given task. Okay, if you can see for candidate A and also candidate B, the same time is given for them to present their ideas, or they have to talk about the topics given. So after student A talk about his or her topic, student B has to answer a question based on student A topic in 20 seconds. Please do not encourage your student to only respond to yes or no. Okay, so we have to train our student to at least give their response in complete sentences. Okay, and you have to give a reason for your response. Okay, okay, here the examiners are looking for the quality of your language. Okay, it is not about completing a task, it is about the quality of the language that the candidates will be used. Okay, and also their proficiency level, okay, their level of proficiency, and not on your on the student understanding of student A topic. That means for candidate A, after they have presented their ideas, okay, with the stimulus given, candidate B can answer the question, but they do not have to really understand the question. They just have to give their response, okay, to their candidate A topic. Okay, now after we have known about what are the items or what are the stimulus or what are the tasks for part 2, now I'm going to share with you some sample activities that you can use with your students to make sure they perform well in their part 2 speaking test. Okay, so here I have a few activities. As you can see, the first one is Dash Speak, okay, which is on picture stimulus. Number 2 is text to talk. Okay, text to talk. Okay, it sounds like TED Talk, but it is not. Okay, so this is based on the text stimulus. And last but not least is short talks. Okay, based on card stimulus. Although you might be thinking that it is a bit too late to conduct all of these activities, but it is better late than never, teachers. Okay. So these are some suggested activities that can be used with our students, okay, to help them enhance their part 2 skills. Okay, let's take a look at each one now. Okay, the first one is desk pick. Okay. Okay, what is desk pick actually? So actually the word desk pick comes from the word description of pictures. Okay. So how do we do this with our students? So this is one of the activities that we can do with our students, and I name it as desk pick. Okay, description of pictures. Why pictures? Because sometimes students, they remember well with pictures. Okay. Yes, of course, you may be asking, there are no pictures, there is no picture, or there are no pictures being asked or in the sample question. But remember, teachers, okay, we have to prepare them for everything that might be come up for the speaking test. Because in the textbooks, if you remember, we have practices, we have speaking activities using pictures. Okay, so it is no harm for us to use this as a part of the activities that we can help our students. Okay, so students will be asked to describe a photo. Okay, you can be any photo that relate to your to the Form 4 or Form 5 topics. Okay, and ask them to describe the photo. Okay, by providing them with the WH questions like what? What do you see in the picture? What do you see in the photo? Where is the place? Or who are the people in the photo? Okay, how do you go for your holidays? I mean, how do you spend your holidays with your family? Okay, why is why holiday is important? Okay, so these are some of the possible questions that you can ask, okay, with your students. Okay, so what I did with my student was I asked them to describe the photo, and I make sure that they come up with about 5 to 6 sentences, okay, by answering the WH questions. Okay, now for average learners, okay, we can also provide the WH question with the pictures. Okay, with the pictures. Okay, so this is the sample that you can do with your below average or average learners. Okay, now, okay, this is another version of the activity that you can try out with your students. Okay, so this is actually for below average learners. Okay, or you can also do it with your average learners. Okay, it is up to you. You know your students' level, so we can provide more guidance. Okay, by writing the questions together with the pictures. Okay, or the picture. Okay, for example, okay, student will be asked to describe a photo in about 4 to 5 sentences. Maybe in the real test, they may not have time to do up to 5 sentences, teachers, but at least they have the idea of how to elaborate or how to describe or how to respond to the task given in part 2. Okay, so here I provide the questions for them to practice, okay, with their friend, or you can also do it in the class, okay, with your students. Okay, now, okay, candidates must demonstrate both their vocabulary and their ability to organize language in a long term. Okay, we do not want students to answer just, for example, what's your name? Ali. Where do you live? Kampung Aman. So we don't want that. We want our students to demonstrate their ability to use vocabulary and to show their ability to communicate effectively. Okay, so having said that, candidates may use the supplied prompts, okay, that we did with the previous activity if they believe it will help them to write lengthier response, okay, and they should not be punished if they do not cover all of the prompts or answer them in the correct order. So I will show you the actual part 2 part 2 task later. Okay, but this one is what you can do with your student on how they can construct or how they can communicate their ideas effectively. Okay, so these are the useful expressions. Okay, so we have to also make sure that they use some connectors when they speak or when they communicate with their friend. Okay, for example, first of all, okay, when they see the picture or text stimulus or anything, they should start, okay, by saying, first of all, going for a holiday with our family is something that everybody looks forward to, especially after 2 years of lockdown. So this is the introduction. So if you remember in part 2 task, okay, they will give you a topic, then they will give you the accompanying questions below the topic, right? Okay, so this is how we can train our students to start off their individual long-term tasks. Okay, and if they are referring to the photo, they can just say the photo shows so and so on and so on, and there is a family with, okay, if they are answering the question of who, and they are probably enjoying the holiday at Legoland, this is the place. Okay, so if they are given a text, okay, just like the sample task in part 2, they can practice this. Okay, they can also use this to practice doing for the part 2 long-term tasks. Okay, now that was on the first activity that you can carry out, okay, with your student on DASPIC, okay, description of pictures. Now let us look at the second activity. Okay, so the second activity that I have here is text to talk. Okay, what is text to talk, teachers? Okay, here is another activity that we can do with our students. So we can do this type of activity with our students to get them to have a mental picture of a topic. Why do they need to read? Why do they need to read? Because they have to speak. Yes, I know they have to speak, but in order for them to have the ideas to speak, they have to know what they are going to talk about. So this is where they have to read. Okay, first we can ask our students to read the text. It can be any text that relate to your Form 4 or Form 5 topics covered in textbook. Okay, so after they have read the text and understood it, then we ask the students to talk about the topic using their own words. Okay, that's where the word talks comes from. Okay, from text, they have to talk about the text. That is where I got the name text to talk. Okay, so they have to talk about the topic using their own words in about 5 to 6 sentences. Why do I stress on using the number of sentences? Because if you don't do this, if you don't tell your students to do this, they might just give you 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Okay, so we have to tell our students to practice to give a few sentences, because remember, teachers, for this part, they are given 1 minute. Okay, so if there is no response from the student, I think after 40 seconds, then we can bring the task to a premature close. Okay, but we want to encourage them to talk. Okay, now average students, they may have heard of Facebook, so they may be able to talk about it in 5 to 6 sentences. But imagine for below average learners, okay, they may only know that Facebook is something that they always use with their friends, but they do not know what are the functions, or they may not have the vocabulary to give their ideas about Facebook in more details. Okay, so this is where the activities can be beneficial for our students. Okay, so we can instruct our student to prepare at least 5 to 6 sentences, okay, in 1 minute, okay, or maybe less, because in actual test or in actual test or for the speaking test, which is around the corner, I'm sure if they see the task, they may not be able to give up to 5 to 6 sentences, but at least, okay, they prepare themselves to talk about the topic that will be given to them. Okay, because if you have covered, okay, if you're done with your student based on the topics in the textbook, I'm sure it won't run for. Okay, it will be just the topic that are covered in Form 4 or Form 5 textbook. Okay, that is on text to talk. Okay, how about below average learners, teachers? Okay, for below average learners, what we can do is we can give them the same text, but now we ask them to highlight certain important ideas. Like for example, okay, what is the sentence that will answer the question of what? So we ask them to underline that, so they will know that, okay, normally in the sentence, in the paragraph, the first sentence is the topic sentence or the main idea of the text. Okay, so they have to use the first sentence as the main idea. Okay, then we can also ask them to highlight, okay, the sentences that I told you earlier that answer the WH question. So here we have question like what, because if we notice in part 2 in the task, okay, they will ask if it's in the text, in the question, normally those are the WH question. Only the last question is asking about their something that is outside their maybe like how do we apply this, okay, or why do we need to have good friend, for example. It's something that they have to think, okay, for themselves, like a hot question there, okay, in the last part of the part 2 individual long-term task. Okay, so this is, okay, another activity that you can also apply with your students. Okay, now, okay, remember just now, teachers, okay, I've given you a text on Facebook. Okay, let's say this is your candidate A. So candidate A, they have to like give about 4 to 5 sentences. Okay, let's say from the text, okay, they will take out the sentences and they will, this is what they will expect, or they will use for their turn, for their part 2 task in speaking test. Okay, so let's say from Facebook, so they will just take one part from the text. Okay, like Facebook is a social networking service that allow users to connect with friends and co-workers. So if they have like read about this, okay, at least they have some ideas. Let's say maybe question will be asked on other social media like Instagram and so on. So at least they have some background knowledge about this social media. Okay, so this is the idea of doing this activity with our students. Okay, okay. Now, what happened to candidate B? Okay, now let's take a look at what will the candidate B has to do. Okay, let's say after candidate A presented his or her topic, candidate B has to answer a short question in 20 seconds based on their partner's topic. Remember, just now was on Facebook, right? Okay, so maybe the question that candidate B has to answer is something that related to social media as well, but not on Facebook. Okay, so the possible question here is, name other social media that is widely used among teenagers. Why they choose it? Okay, so this is the possible question. Okay, so for example, they might be give their response as like maybe Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, and they have to give reason. Remember why they choose it. Okay, so the possible answers could be, teenagers often like to use social media such as Instagram and TikTok as they are trendy and have a lot of interesting features. So this is only suggested answers, okay, for this activity. So candidate B has to give the response in 20 seconds, okay, to the topic that candidate B has presented just now. Okay, so remember, this is another activity that we can carry out with our students. Okay, now, so what is the next activity, teachers? Okay, just now we have learned about desk-pic, description of pictures. So you can actually adapt and adopt, okay, this activity with your students because you know your students best. Okay, and then for second activity, which is text to talk, so you can also adjust and adapt, okay, to your students' proficiency level. Okay, the third activity that we can use is, okay, I call it as short talks. Okay, what is short talks? So here we will be given our student a stack of topic cards. Okay, so inside the card you will give the topics based on, again, Form 4 and Form 5 textbook to your students, so that each one has their own card. So when they look at the topic, so you give them about maybe 1 minute, okay, to talk about the topic given to them, or you can even ask them to choose, okay, from maybe a container or something, from the bowl or something, you ask them to choose, so it will be more interesting, right? Okay, when they know that they choose the topic themselves. Okay, so after each student draws their card, you can give them a time limit, okay, because we want to prepare them for part 2. Remember, part 2, how many minutes, teachers? 1 minute. So we give them a time limit of 1 minute, okay? Because we want to get them to be familiarized with the time given, okay? So this is actually the time given to them for this part. And they will have to speak about the topic they have been assigned. Okay, so let's say they don't know about the topic. So maybe they can exchange with their friends, okay, that may or may not, that may have more information about the topic. Okay, so this is one of the activities that you can do with your students. Okay, and then you can also let them write down 3 to 5 sentences. Again, okay, I always stress on giving sentences. Okay, you have to because in 1 minute, okay, if I think the student can write about can speak in about 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, so and they can even write this in on a mini whiteboard. Okay, so that they know that they have actually given that they have actually described the topic. Okay, to remind them of the direction that they will take in the course of their talk. Okay. Okay. Now, for average learners, teachers can provide some guidance, okay, like giving them the topic and so on. Then for below average learners, you can also provide them with some points below each topic so that they have roughly some ideas what they need to talk about, just like in the task. Remember, I will show you the task after this, okay? Okay, now let's look at the task. This is the task, the sample task that we have, we have been doing with our students. We have been practicing with our students. Okay, so this is like more on text. Okay, so they are not to say a text. This is like giving them a question and some possible points that they need to address to. Okay, so the topic here is a family celebration. So they are given 20 seconds to prepare. First, when the interlocutor give them this task, so student A will be doing this task first, and they are given 20 seconds to prepare. Okay, so in these 20 seconds, they have to make sure they know what is the topic about, and they can recall. Okay, I have to talk about family celebration. What is family celebration? So maybe they do not have any ideas, so they have to like asking themselves. Okay, I remember my teacher told me that I have to ask the WH questions. Okay, to do this activities, because they may not understand the points given below. Like for example, what the event was, they don't know what is the event, and they don't know what is the meaning of what you did there. They may not know all these 4 points. So when you give them the topic, then you teach them to imagine or to ask the WH question, so they may be able to come up with their own ideas by asking themselves the WH question. So this is the ideal teachers, okay? Because we want to cater to all levels of proficiency of our students, okay? We don't want just to make sure they know, or they will. We know that they might not know what will come up, what topic will come up. So once they see the topic, they can recall. Okay, I have to ask myself all the WH question. What is family celebration? Where do we normally celebrate? Okay, who are the people normally celebrate this celebration or have this celebration? And how do people feel when they have family celebration? So this is the ideal teachers. Okay, we want them to have a mental picture of the topic. Okay, especially if they do not understand or they do not know what are the points given or what they have to talk about. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, you can take these ideas, okay, for to do with your students. Okay, and again, here the candidates, okay, they should demonstrate their ability to respond to the task. Okay, so let's say they respond by giving talk about the topic given. Okay, yes, they have responded to the task, and they have to use appropriate vocabulary. Okay, that means they have to use words that are related to family celebration, and they have to organize the language in the long term. Okay, and they can also use the prompts provided if they feel they are useful to create longer responses. That means they can either use or they can also come up with their own ideas, okay, with their own ideas of how they want to respond to the topic given. And remember, they will not be penalized if they fail to use the prompts or answer them in order. Again, okay, so they don't have to follow the sequence of the points given. They can just talk about family celebration. Okay, okay, so this is how we can help our students, teachers, okay, by doing the activities that I mentioned earlier. Okay, now we have come to the part 3 now. Okay, I'm going to do on part 3 after this. Okay, I hope you have some ideas on how you can help your student. Maybe not for this year's student, maybe for your future activities for speaking, on how you want to improve your student speaking. Okay, so you can make use of all these activities. Okay, now please feel free to ask any question that related to the activities or anything on speaking in the chat. Okay, okay, now let's take a look at part 3. Okay, part 3 is on discussion and further discussion tasks. Okay, remember we have 2 phases as well in part 3. Okay, now let's take a look at the details of part 3. Okay, as you can see, part 3 we have 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, so in the first phase it is a candidate discussion. Okay, and in phase 2, it will be a follow-up discussion led by the interlocutor or a further discussion task. Okay, firstly, in the first phase, okay, the interlocutor will ask the candidate to speak together about a topic that will be given to them, okay, in 2 minutes, okay, for about 2 minutes in the discussion, prompted by a mind map. Okay, remember part 3 is on a mind map, okay, that present a central focus question. So the question will be in the middle of that mind map and the surrounding ideas. So there will be a question, central focus question, and also the surrounding ideas. Okay, so I'll show you the sample question later. Okay, so this is the sample questions. Okay. Okay, this is the sample question for part 3 in phase 1. So in the middle is the question, why do people shop online, and the surrounding ideas, okay, in the mind map. Okay, let's go back to the slide, okay, the previous slide. Okay, now, then after they have discussed for 2 minutes, okay, they have another 1 minute to come to a decision, okay, on what could be the best solution or idea based on the task given. Okay, so after they have discussed with their partner on the topic given, they are given another 1 minute to give their decision. Okay, then in the second part or in the second phase, the interlocutor will ask a further discussion question based on the same theme. Okay, based on the same theme. Okay, which is on online shopping. Okay, so here again, candidates have a further 2 minutes to answer. Okay, 2 minutes to answer. Okay, so we can actually train our students, or we can actually ask them to, like for example, one student takes 1 minute, okay, and the other candidate takes another minute. Why do we do this? Because we want to have a fair, we want to give them a fair, we want to be fair with our student, okay, so that not one person dominating the task. Okay, we want both students to be able to communicate their ideas. So how do we encourage the candidates that might be hesitant, okay, or might not have ideas to talk about? So I will give you some tips on that. Okay, now, okay, again, this is a sample task in phase 1, part 3. Okay, now I'm going to show you some sample activities, okay, that you can carry out with your students in part 3. Okay, again, there are 2 activities, okay, so you can actually ask your students, okay, to do a role play activity named Let's Do It Right. Okay, so I'll give you the details after this. Or the second one is the information gap activities named No. Okay, what is X of no? We will find out after this. Okay. Now let's take a look at the first activity. Let's do it right. Okay. So this is actually a discussion. Remember, this part 3 is on discussion task. Okay, so they have to discuss together about a topic that are given to them. So after they have 20 seconds, they have to discuss, they have to negotiate who will be doing, who will be presenting the points given. So they have to negotiate their turn in this 20 seconds after they presented with the task by interlocutor. Okay, so for us to train them or to prepare them for this activity, we can carry out this. Okay, this role play type of activity. Okay, they don't have to take a role of someone, or what they can do is maybe they can imagine that they are discussing a topic with their friends at a restaurant or in a class. Okay, so they can take the role as students, okay, but they are now maybe at a restaurant or in class. So we can actually give them a role, okay, or give them the situation that they are at. Okay, so the idea here is to get the students to think of some possible answers to the questions that they are familiar with. So remember, teachers, all the topics covered in the textbook are actually the topic that are familiar with the students. Okay, so for example here, maybe you can try out this question with your student. For example, do you think it's more important to have lots of friends or a few good friends? Okay, so actually teachers, you can find all these questions in the textbook. Okay, under speaking activities, there are a question that you can use with your student. Okay, so you can actually practice this or ask the student to give the response to the question given. So they are actually very beneficial for the students to practice to do for the task 3, for their part 3, okay, in this task. Okay, so let's say students, they don't have the word or the vocabulary, or they don't know what words they need to use to do this task. Okay, so you can also provide them, okay, with some useful expressions. Okay, these are also in the textbook, teachers. Okay, in every speaking activity, there are useful expression provided for the topic given. Okay, so please, you can also make use of this, okay, with your students. Okay, not only for speaking, I'm sure there are also useful expression even for writing. Okay, so you can make use of all these expression. Okay, like say now, okay, they can use this suggested prompt to motivate their students. Okay, let's say just now in the discussion task, maybe one student is dominating the conversation or the discussion. So how are we going to get the other candidate who might be hesitant to start talking? So you can use this. Okay, you can ask your student, the good student or the average student, to ask their partner, okay, this question or this, to use this expression. Let's say, for example, after candidate A presented his or her idea, you ask the student to ask candidate B, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this point? What do you think about this reason? Okay, so by doing this, candidate B will start to think about what he has to say. Okay, so maybe you can practice this, can have this, because I did this with my students. Okay, I trained them to ask their partner, okay, this type of question after they have presented theirs, okay, or their notes or their points. Okay, so at least the second person or the second candidate, they have to prepare themselves to give their response. Okay, so it will not be very dry. I mean, the conversation will not be dry. Okay, at least they are conversing with each other. Okay, so this is the idea, teachers. Okay, or they can even ask, what's your opinion of this point? Okay, or do you agree that, or do you agree with my point? So by asking this question to their partners, it can reduce the reticent candidates, okay, from just from long pauses or from being hesitant in this task. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, other than that, okay, apart from using this useful expression, we can also use this, okay, like agreeing or disagreeing. Okay, how do we agree or disagree with the partner's point, or whether we agree in full or we agree or disagree in part. Okay, so students can make use of this useful expression That can be used in part 3. Okay, for example, I completely agree with you. Okay, maybe after the candidate A presented his or her idea, so the next candidate will have to, maybe they can say, I completely agree with you. I think you are right about that, but I think I have better ideas on how you should go, or the reason why people shop online. So this is something that we can teach our students to use when they are doing this task. Okay. Okay, and if they disagree, remember they can disagree. They don't have to agree with all the points given. They can also disagree. So when they disagree, they can say that, I think you might be wrong about that, but let me explain my point of view on this topic. Okay, so they can use that. They can make use of this expression. Okay, okay. So that what those are the expression that you can give to your student, or you can practice with your students. Okay, now let's go to the second activity. Okay, please bear with me, teachers. Okay, this is the second activity on X of no gap. What is X of no gap? Okay, X of no is actually comes from the words experience. Okay, op means opinion and no means knowledge. Why do we have to do this activity with our students? Okay, so the term gap, okay, means that this signifies different, okay, in this context. So students, as we all know, they may come from a variety of backgrounds, or they have had a variety of life experiences. So this is where we can actually explore their knowledge or their opinions or their experiences on their current issues, okay, by applying this activity, which is called as X of no, because we know some of our students, they are working, so they may have some ideas about certain topic, and with that they can give their points, or they can elaborate their ideas on that topic, and they can also fill the gap between them both. Okay, okay, so this is the activity like that you can do. So you can ask them a question like, do you think it is right that a cleaner is paid less than an accountant? Okay, maybe some students, they may not have ideas of what they want to talk about when they get this question. So maybe some students, they have better ideas. So by doing this activity with your students, you can fill the gap. Okay, okay. Now another question that you can ask is, do you think it's important to keep up to date with the latest technology? Maybe that student know about technology, know about all these social media, all these gadget things. So by asking this question, by practicing this question with your students, you might fill the gap between them both. Okay, this is what I meant by the activities that we can carry out with our students. Okay, okay. Now, so that was on phase 1, teachers, for task 3. Now let us go on further discussion tasks. Okay, remember, teachers, they are given 2 minutes to do this. Okay, so this is the sample task for part 3 in phase 2. So in this task, candidates are encouraged to use more speculative language. What is speculative language? I will explain later. Okay, I will show you the examples of speculative language after this. And they also have to justify as well as elaborate on their opinions. Okay, I know it's going to be very tough to some students, to below average learners, but if we can give them some tips, or we can prepare them with some useful expression, I'm sure they will use it. Okay, they will use it. Okay, so that they won't just there won't be long or excessive gap. Okay, okay. So, and again, they are not required to agree on the question here. Okay, so let's say the question is, how might the education system in your country change in the coming years? So after they have presented maybe about education, about online classes or face-to-face classes, so maybe this is a further discussion question that will be asked by the interlocutor on the education system. Okay, this is actually on testing the candidates' knowledge of current issues. Okay. Okay, so before we look at how we can help our students, let's look at what is speculative language. Okay, speculative language. Okay, so these are the useful phrases that you can teach your student to use for this further discussion task. Okay, for examples, we have words or phrases like I suppose, I expect it is something that they speculate that will happen. Okay, that will happen. It's possible, it's probable that, and I guess that, I imagine that, perhaps. Okay, so maybe if good student or above average student, you can teach them slightly longer phrases. For below average learners, you can train them to use the simple phrases. Okay, okay. Now let us take a look at the task and the sample answers. Okay, that I have prepared. Okay, okay. Let's say now this is the task. Okay, the question that will be asked by the interlocutor. Okay, so the words or the phrases that I highlighted in yellow are actually the speculative languages that we can ask students to apply in answering this further discussion task. Okay, so this is just maybe from one candidate. Okay, remember we have two candidates, so we have to prepare for. We have to teach our student or to train our student to use the speculative language for this part. Okay, maybe you can prepare with maybe one or two sentences for them to respond to this task. Okay, so based on the task given, based on the question, how might the education system in your country change in the coming years? So the possible answers could be, well, I think it is likely to become more technologically advanced. Okay, so they have made use of the phrase for the speculative language. More and more people have access to high-speed internet these days, so I expect that distance learning will become even more popular. Okay, so all these speculative language can be very useful to be used for this response. Okay, perhaps more students will have access to tablets and computers in their classroom as well. Okay, so I think this is something that we can help our students to get themselves ready for the task in speaking. So at least we prepare them something rather than nothing. Okay, it is not too late for you to do this with your student, I believe. Okay, so wherever it is, please give some tips or ideas for your student for them to prepare. I know they have been in a lot of challenges with this pandemic. Okay, so let not just let not leave them with a lot of other things that might stress them. Okay, so we can do something to help our students. So I think with that, okay, that's all from me. Okay, I hope I have given some ideas and tips for this speaking paper ranging from part 1 to part 3. Thank you for your time and patience. Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Puan Zarina. Thank you so much. So that's the end of our Soar to Score program. All right, so we have been live for 2 days, yesterday and today. So we've covered yesterday we covered writing, and today we've covered speaking component. So I do hope that from these 2 days slot, all right, given by our JUs have, somehow can help you or boost you a little bit. I was hoping that the booster will be big, but a little bit would do. All right, just to actually give you the idea, the tips and tricks of giving students more encouragement. All right, so that they will improve their marks. Okay, all right. So the attendance link is in our description. All right, description of the program. All right, just below the screen in the YouTube channel, you can find the link. So you can click on the link and register for today's attendance later on. All right, so on behalf of Sektor Pembelajaran GPM Pulau Pinang, I would like to thank our speakers, all right, for day one, Miss Primani, Miss Sharon, Miss Jane, and for day two, Miss Shazlin and also Miss Zarna. Thank you so much, all right, for these 2 days. And On top of that, I would also like to thank Puan Parimala for initiating, Puan Nora, Puan Jen, not forgetting, okay, Puan Jen, thank you so much. Mr. Roger, thank you so much from Selatan today. Okay, he's here with us, and Mr. Chandra, thank you so much. Okay, not forgetting our technical part of it, Encik Hafizuddin Faris from Unit TMK Sektor Pembelajaran, and also Penang Digital Movers. Thank you so much for streaming it live for 2 days in a row, regardless of the technical glitches. Thank you so much for helping us, my JUs and also my SIC Plus officers. Alright, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Penang Digital Movers, down there. You may click like, you may click the thumbs up if you think it's good. Alright, these 2 days of the slots. Okay, so have a good rest, teachers, and those celebrating Thaipusam next week, happy Thaipusam. Take care, alright, and please be safe out there. Okay, so that's all from me, from Puan Molisa, Sektor Pembelajaran JPM Pulau Pinang. Thank you and goodbye.